kidding. I should say here now, she's new to this. This is the wife of the Treasury Secretary of the United States, who himself is new to this. Nevertheless, the fact of the matter is that this is all a lot of the social media are talking about, and just saying that she's having a let them eat cake moment. That might be extreme here, but does it get in the way of discussion of cutting taxes, especially when the biggest beneficiaries, critics of the president will contend, and maybe by extension the Treasury Secretary, are the rich folks, the very rich folks. So, should she be celebrated or scorned? Bold Beef founder Carrie Sheffield is with us, financial analyst Heather Zumaraga, and political analyst Wendy Osefo. Wendy, what do you think of all of this?
This was definitely Linton's Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake, Imelda Marcos, whatever adjective you want to put forth here. This was her moment. And to sit there and just scold an Oregon woman that has 3 children and make little intonations like your little life, that's not what's needed here, especially for everyday Americans like myself. What the Trump administration really needs right now is a legislative win. And with Linton sinking the tank with this, that is not helping them. We know quite honestly that what we're going to see more than likely is not really tax reform, but tax cuts, and those tax cuts will probably be for the rich. So with Linton's comments carrying a 30,000 Birkin bag, which I wish I had, does not help their case any further. And the American people need to know that when it comes to legislation, the Trump administration will not make us all feel as though we are on Survivor or anything like that.
I know how you can get to generalize about this, and she might be, faulted for hashtagging the various designer labels that she was wearing or in company with. But Carrie, the one thing that does come up is it loses sight of a basic argument, the thrust of which I think was at its core accurate, that the rich, and certainly in their case the very, very rich, do pay a disproportionate amount of taxes. I'm going to get into that in a second here, but was that lost in all this other stuff?
Well, yes, and Wendy, I apologies, but you're totally wrong. You should not. You should celebrate the rich. Nothing pops off an assembly line with a price tag on it. Price tags happen because there's a market for it. She should be celebrated for the fact that she is an exceptional woman and her husband is an exceptional man.
Carrie.
Please don't interrupt me. I did not interrupt you. And the reality is, I was a working class woman. I worked my way up to Goldman Sachs. I do not need to be ashamed. You need to stop shaming people because they have been successful. This is hashtag fake news. She does not need to be ashamed for being successful.
Well, let me ask Heather about.
Can I say one thing though?
Make it quick.
The Tax Foundation did an analysis of the House Republican tax plan. They found $5,000 to the median family, $5,000 to their pocket because of tax reform. So that's what we need.
All right.
Because
Well,
it goes to the job creators.
I don't want to distract. I do want to get to the idea of who pays what in taxes, and this is kind of interesting. Heather, I'll address you. And we could all fall. I mean, she's a young actress, and she's just married. She's just new to Washington, D.C. So I'm not going to pick apart, how she responds on social media. That's always a tough area. But this is interesting. When you talk about what those who pay taxes, it's disproportionately the top, the richest, right? The top
49% pay zero income tax.
I will get to that. I want to show you that 60% of the taxes raised in this country are paid by the top 5%. The top 1%, of whom I think the Treasury Secretary and his beautiful wife are members, 40% of the taxes raised are paid by that 1%. And finally, Heather, to your point, I think you were touching on here, this notion of who pays taxes and who doesn't. Close to half pay no income taxes at all, maybe genuinely because of write-offs and allowances and all that. But to put that in perspective, when I got out of grad school, that number was in the teens. So it is more than doubled in 10 years. No, kidding. But so what I'm saying here is that's what's out of whack with the system, right? It's just disproportionately.
Yeah, I agree. I do understand that we need a social safety net in place for those that are below the poverty level bracket, which I believe is about $29,700. But at some point in time, how does demonizing the rich help bring the poor up from out from under? I'm not sure you can make Steve Mnuchin's wife poor enough to help others.
But I know what you're saying, and I agree with you on demonizing the rich. Do you feel that maybe she contributed to demonizing herself? Not intentionally. She was trying to get back to someone who essentially was lambasting her for living off government largesse, which was factually not the case.
I think this is new to her.
Herself. Should you just wear your wealth? There are a great story yesterday in the Wall Street Journal talking about the rich who were very leery of showing their wealth. What do you think?
Look, no, I don't think you should. You shouldn't wear your wealth, but does wearing a trash bag or a grocery bag to put your makeup in your wallet in, is that a better representation? Would that make Democrats feel better in relating to them? I don't think so. I mean, Wendy, do you think if she had a cheaper bag, would that change your opinion of her?
No, the only thing that would get me going, Carrie,
not.
the only thing that would get me going on it is the fact that she sort of flaunted it and shoved it back in her face.
There you go, Neil.
She's an aspirational figure, and this is the difference. Republicans, conservatives celebrate achievement, celebrate American exceptionalism. Democrats are hypocrites. Remember when Hillary Clinton showed up with a $12,000 Armani suit? That's hypocrisy. She was going to condemn income inequality, but she's the queen of income inequality. People hated hypocrites. This is not hypocrisy. This is a woman who is exceptional, and her husband is exceptional.
I think you're mixing
Neil,
it up.
yes,
Guys, I just want to get back to it. This is the only thing it's about is everyone is entitled to be as rich as they want.
Absolutely.
To flaunt wherever they
Absolutely.
want. I think what came up in this case is just the fact that maybe she went a little too far.
There you go.
And
that's exactly
pushing
right.
it. And then it gets in people's cry here that, wait a minute, you're rich and you have that and you're bragging about the fact you pay more taxes.
Yes.
And you should because you earn more and all, but you worry, any of you, that this gets in the way of cutting taxes on the upper income. Now, Wendy, I'm sure you're in the camp that says, go ahead, jack their taxes up so that they can only afford burlap bags. But what do you think?
No, I'm just chomping at the bits. I just want to make sure that what I was saying is clear. It's okay to have nice things. Of course, it's great to achieve, but it's the way in which she flaunted it. It's the optics, and that's what I'm saying. Democrats are not saying it's okay to be underachievers. We want to be overachievers, but it's also being aware of your surroundings and what those optics look like.
What do you make of that?
I don't think you should punish someone
We're not
because
punishing
they're
her.
new. No, this is hashtag fake news. This is part of why Trump won, is because people were so fed up of people demonizing success. That's the problem here, and it is a distraction. It is hashtag fake news. The real news is tax reform, and the fact that we can give $5,000 to the median person.
All right, Carrie, just be honest with me. Carrie, I want you to be honest with me. Do you think, and I'm all for tax cuts too. I think that's a great idea. I think everyone could benefit. My point is, though, do you think something like this distracts from that and gets people thinking, well, you know, this is not a good way to advance the argument of the well-to-do when they're shoving it back in their face?
My dear
Yes.
Neil, you are feeding into the liberal media narrative.
No,
why
I'm not,
is it?
kiddo.
Why is it
No,
that
I'm not.
Michelle?
I take it you do pretty well, but you shove it back in people's faces. Yes or no?
No, let me ask you, why is it okay for Michelle Obama to wear fancy designers? Jackie Onassis,
She doesn't
a Democrat.
hashtag it.
She did. She would hashtag designers all the time.
Look,
she
the markets loved
I
it.
think
Stocks are
I
up
think there's a
today.
bit of deflecting going on here.
No,
ladies.
no,
thank you, Neil.
I'm not
Thank you,
taking
Neil.
right or left. No, ladies, I'm not taking a right or left view on this. And I know people say, oh, he's an anti-Trump, blah, 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 globalist. And I thought globalists refer to my waist size. My only point here, Heather, my only point here on this is,
Tax
she's
reform.
young. She's
Yeah.
young. A Scottish actress, beautiful woman. She's
She
new
earned
to
it.
this public world. You just have to watch it. She took this social media,
Fair
these
enough.
comments back and forth, and they took it down and learned something in here. Now,
Fair.
her initial approach to this questioner was to say, hey, you know, don't assume that I'm not pitching in here and doing my part for the economy. I pay a lot more in taxes. But she should have left it at that before hashtagging
fair enough,
all this
and
other stuff. And
I
don't
don't
even know
think
what
she'll get
hashtagging is.
hashtag. Maybe she got a free bag from it, so I don't think she'll do it again. Fair enough. Both sides have a point. I do not think this will impact or affect tax reform. Markets are up 200 points on the Dow today on the backs of the fact that, look, tax reform. If not tax reform, then tax cuts are on the table, and it looks more promising than it did, say, a week ago. And I don't think she's going to get in the way of this.
And
Exactly.
Wendy, when you see this, you're quite happy with the fact that bottom line, tax cuts in one way, shape, or form are going to come to pass, and you'll be very pleased with that, right?
I will be pleased if it happens in a bipartisan manner. I'll be very elated.
Okay, very good.
Which you can get on the
great.
corporate side for sure.
Sure.
There we go.
Well,
all right, guys,
yes.
you argue your points very, very well. This is just a funny little story, and we thought we'd explore it on a day of all day. Stocks were racing up despite all of this class warfare stuff going